In this short video, I'm going to share with you 7 ways you could start to invest with just £10,000 in property in the UK. Hi, my name is Mark Lloyd. I'm co-founder of Property Master Academy and an investor for over 16 years. Now, when you're starting out with just £10,000, there's 2 things really that you want to focus on. One is building your pot of money so you've got more money available to invest. Secondly is to build your cash flow. So which do you do first? Well, I think you could potentially do the 2 in conjunction with each other. One of the first strategies I think would be a very good idea is deal sourcing. Now, deal sourcing is finding properties for other investors, and the fees you'll earn from that will range anything from £1,500 for an inexperienced sourcer all the way up to several thousands of pounds, and that could help build your pot of money. Now, to be a deal sourcer, you need to become compliant, and there are a few things that you need to pay for to do that. That will cost you about £1,000 to £1,500 out of your £10,000 pot of money. Then you'll need to spend some money on marketing. That may be a website, which doesn't have to cost much. There are plenty of companies out there nowadays where you can get a very cheap website put together that looks really, really professional. So deal sourcing will help you build your pot of money, but it is quite an active activity. So in other words, if you stop deal sourcing, you're not going to continue to earn. So it's something you need to continue to do and be very proactive in. The second strategy is a cash flow building strategy called rent to rent. Now, with £10,000, you're probably going to need to spend a little bit of that money learning about rent to rent and how to make it work properly. There's many different ways of doing rent to rent, but the rent to rent HMO model is perhaps one of the most popular. And with £10,000, you should be able to secure at least 2 rent to rent properties that will pay you anything between £1,000 and £1,500 per month cash flow. The beauty of the rent to rent HMO model is that your risk is quite low, and also you're actually learning a lot about HMOs because it's more of a hands-on type of strategy. So you will start to gain credibility for later on in your property journey when you start to attract joint venture partners, which is my next topic. So once you've started to gain some experience, whether it's through deal sourcing, whether it's through managing HMOs on the rent to rent model, that will give you experience that a potential joint venture partner will look for. Because at the end of the day, a joint venture partner is only going to joint venture with you if you've got something to offer, and usually that's going to be your experience and knowledge. So a great way of learning in order to help expand your portfolio later on, this time with other people's money to help expand your pot of money. Next, I want to look at 3 different options as ways of also expanding not just your knowledge, but also your pot of money. Firstly, something called lease options. Now, a lease option is essentially where you agree to buy a property at a rate today, but you actually can complete on it much more in the future. Could be 5 years' time. You're securing it for a very low amount of money. You only need £1 to exchange on the contract, and there'll be some solicitor's costs involved as well. Let's say £1,000 to £1,500. So potentially you could secure a buy-to-let property for just £1,500 that will create cash flow for you. So you're generating cash flow and potential capital input at a later date. The second variation would be an assisted sale. Now, an assisted sale is where you are helping a vendor sell their rundown property. So it's a rundown property, it's not selling because of that reason. You come along and say, well, I'm prepared to finance the refurbishment through your joint venture partner, carry out that refurbishment and sell that property at a higher price. That does 2 things. Gives you experience again, and also helps to create a lump sum at the end of it. And then thirdly, land options. Securing land on an option agreement is very, very popular and very common with developers. It's a cheap way for them to secure the land whilst they gain planning permission. And again, as it's an option, you'll pay £1 to secure that option, and of course the legal costs again around about £1,000 to £1,500. You could then potentially work with a joint venture partner who could help fund getting the planning on that land, or you could just source that land onto a developer and take a fee. Lastly, I want to mention crowdfunding. If you don't want any of the hassle of all of the things I've just mentioned, then you could just invest your money into a crowdfunding platform and earn yourself a decent return. Something around about 8% would be fairly normal for a non-sophisticated investor. As you become more experienced, you could perhaps go into the sophisticated investor category and invest in equity models as well. But there's 7 ways where you could start investing with just £10,000. I hope you found that information useful. If you have, I'd love it if you'd hit the subscribe button and also the notification bell so that you get notified of other videos as we produce them. Also, please put into the comments what your experiences are. If you're starting out, if you'd like help, then let us know. And finally, take a look at the videos as they're appearing on your screen right now, as they will help you in your property journey. Thanks for listening.